Hey guys, this is Nathar at CrowSong Lodge, and I'm back again with another video. We're going to just forge on ahead and talk more about tarot and like the basic structure of a tarot deck. Now, someone mentioned in my last video where we were talking about repeating numbers, about talking about the tarot suits and how those played out, or talking about the someone mentioned in the last video on repeating numbers is talking about the numerical meanings of the different minor arcana cards, and so I wanted to go ahead and get into that. But before I do that, I want to talk about the tarot suits themselves and the minor arcana. So I'm going to be making two videos today about that, and I'm not going to bother changing clothes in between them. I know a lot of YouTubers do that, but I'm not going to bother because I'm lazy, and you guys know that. So before we can talk about each individual card itself and the numerological meaning of the cards, we really need to understand the suits in general. And so that's kind of where I wanted to start this. So with that in mind, in your standard tarot deck, standard is really important here because there's a lot of tarot decks out there who are going to have variations on this. In fact, I just purchased one a couple days ago and it arrived, and it's the Forest of Enchantment Tarot, and it's around here somewhere. And it has non-standard tarot deck names. So instead of your cups, wands, swords, and pentacles, you have your boons and visions and spells and challenges instead. So they've renamed the four suits to be something else in this deck, and several other decks do that as well. It's not all that abnormal. So today we're going to be talking about the normal four suits that you find in a tarot deck based off the rider-waite system, and I'm going to be using the rider-waite deck again as an example because the rider-waite-smith deck again is what most of our modern tarot decks are based off of. Not all, but most, so it's going to be the most common foundation that you're looking at. So in the most tarot decks, you're going to have the wands, pentacles, cups, and swords. I grabbed an extra card there. And swords. Sometimes these are renamed. The swords are sometimes called lances. Cups are usually cups or chalices or sometimes bowls. There's some kind of cup water holding device. Your pentacles are called pentacles or coins or discs, some kind of roundy object. And your wands are sometimes called stabs or rods. They're all pretty much the same. And each of these suits corresponds to one of the four basic elements that's usually accepted in occultism, spirituality, or metaphysical witchy beliefs. And so usually, I'm saying usually here because I actually grew up learning a different system, but it doesn't really matter that much. Your wands are going to be associated with fire, your swords are going to be associated with air, your cups are going to be associated with water, and your pentacles are going to be associated with earth. Now, the way I learned, and this is not more correct, it's just different, is that your wands are associated with air and your swords are associated with fire instead. That's the only difference. And this difference is actually found more commonly in non-United States specific decks. So in the decks that you find that are produced in Europe, for example, you're going to find them associated where wands are associated with air and swords are associated with fire, but the elemental associations made with those elements are also switched. So the cards are still interpreted the same, the elements are just considered switched, but that's fine because we're still interpreting the cards just the same. So the way we work with those elements is each of those elements is associated with certain qualities or vibrations or kind of situations or feelings, And so each number on the card combined with the suit that that card is part of informs how you interpret the card. So for example, the number 1 here represents new beginnings, and the element of I forget what we're doing here. The element of air here is going to represent actions. So the Ace of Swords is going to represent new beginnings that are happening right now, right away, without any kind of delay, and they're going to manifest physically and tangibly. They're not just an idea happening in the ether or reality. People are not just talking about it, they're actually taking physical action, they're manifesting right away in the physical. So that's how we're going to be interpreting this. Our fire element in Wands is representing creativity, mental abilities, strategizing, passion, those kind of like fiery mental faculties. Very much a mental, logical thinking element here. And so the Ace of Wands is going to represent starting to plan something. It's beginning on ideas, coming up with thoughts, ideas, plans, coming up with a new strategy, coming up with new ideas, new business plans, new creative plans, a new set of ideas, a new angle on something. Cups represent intuition and emotions. A lot of times in tarot readings we forget about the intuitive side of water because most people are coming to us about relationships instead. So cups kind of just get the water element entirely gets kind of lumped with relationships instead of just being emotions and intuition. But it's important to remember that intuition is in there too. And so when we see the Ace of Cups, we're talking about a new relationship, not necessarily romantic, or a new intuitive endeavor. So this is like a new psychic practice, a new meditative practice, a new yogic practice, or new relationship. This new relationship can be with a teacher, a mentor, a child, a family member, or a romantic relationship, or a new stage in a relationship. And then lastly, we have the Ace of Pentacles, and pentacles represent physical resources. Now, a lot of times this gets reduced to money, and a lot of times it is money, but a lot of times it is not money. It's other physical resources like materials, time, space, and those kinds of things. Material resources that affect our physical existence, our physical bodies, and things that are on the physical plane. So when we have the Ace of Pentacles, we're talking about a new job, new money, maybe receiving new supplies, new opportunities that have cropped up, or acquiring something that we didn't think we had before, even new banks of time clearing up in our schedule that we weren't expecting. So the Ace of Pentacles can be a lot of different things as well. So it's important to remember all the parts of those different elements and how they can be interpreted. And so that's how the elements are going to affect our different suits, all the way through all the different minor arcana cards. So next, I'm going to talk about all those different numbers as well, and then probably later we're going to talk about combining them. So I'll see you guys in the next video as well, and we'll continue this conversation. Bye.